Ladies and gentlemen, or at least Jacob, welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of Philly Comedy Club Presents the RUS GUTIN Experience here on Zoom. Give it up for yourselves, or yourself, Jacob, for joining us tonight. We're so excited to have you on another edition of Season 2, Episode 3 of Philly Comedy Club Presents the RUS GUTIN Experience here on Zoom. This week we have some excellent QUARAN-BITS for you. I'm going to be recommending some binge-watching material on binge Russin later, and we have another excellent guest in store for you as usual, as seen on MTV, and The Late Show with one of my heroes, Mr. Stephen Colbert. Mr. Jacob Williams is joining us tonight, and we are playing a clip and having an interview with him after from his awesome album, Unemotional Roller Coaster, which is available now on 800 Pound Gorilla Records, on iTunes, and all the places that you get your comedy albums. Now, ladies and gentlemen, next week, don't miss it, because on Season 2, Episode 4, we have one of our awesome guests also coming, and great friends of mine, Andy Beckerman, and the Naomi Ekperigin, who I think is one of the greatest living comedians in the world. The hosts of Couples Therapy Podcast is going to be joining us. So that's going to be amazing too. So join us next Friday at 9 o'clock. Now, Jacob, there is no audience here, but usually I do the Zoom comedy rules of the road. So real quick, sit up straight. Unmute yourself so we can hear your laughs and your claps, okay? But if you feel the need to talk to a significant other, or take a giant piss, or a long shit, or even talk to your potted plant because you've been in lockdown for so long, go ahead and mute yourself and block that screen. And lastly, if you interrupt the show, in the old world, Jacob, we used to have our large African-American security guard physically remove you from the room. But here in the Zoom world, I just click a button and fire you off into inner space. So it's actually not every change from old world comedy to virtual world comedy is such a bad thing. I think you would agree. All right, so give it up for all of our openings, and there you go. There you have it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us, Jacob, on Season 2, Episode 3 of Philly Comedy Club Presents the RUS GUTIN Experience here on Zoom. Now, you are our guest here tonight, Jacob, and you're also joining us for Poppa Rus's QUARAN-BITS, where I let you know how life has been going for me here in the quarantine, lockdown, global pandemic. And now, first of all, Jacob, if you haven't noticed, I got myself a haircut. I was very, very excited. This is a very rare occurrence for me. I used to get them every 2 weeks on the dot. Now it's every 2 months. I don't like it. I'm a Wolfman Jack. I don't like it. So the best thing about haircuts, though, is that I understand with this haircut, I look like Latino Jimmy Neutron or Puerto Rican Zoolander, okay? I understand this, Jacob, okay? But a lot of people that complain about wearing masks, I've noticed, are very ugly. And I am not that bad looking, and people don't think about what it's like for the good looking people of the world having to wear masks all the time. Being good looking is how I get away with 90% of half of the bullshit that I say and do in the world. So it's not that easy. So it's nice now when I have my burqa on to at least, have something going on at the top. But Jacob, just picture me after I got this haircut, driving up the highway like a dog, with his head out the window, or Ace Ventura, or fucking Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. Just, it was so freeing. It was great. So that was very exciting. Now, number 2 this week on QUARAN-BITS, I had a very exciting week, Jacob, because I got to actually leave the house and go to Philadelphia for the first time since March, because I had to go to Phillies Stadium, to Citizens Bank Park, to pick up the cardboard cutouts of me and my son that you might have seen on the baseball games if you've seen them on TV. And these things are fucking amazing, okay? Look how fucking lifelike and authentic they are. These are fucking crazy, right? And it was crazy. You had to have an appointment. You had to wear masks. They took your fucking temperature. There was only 3 people allowed in the stadium at the time. Nobody can use your phone to take a picture of you. It was all social distancing and pandemic worthy, okay? Dustin Hoffman and Rene Russo from Outbreak were there. It was great, okay? I felt very safe. I felt very taken care of. So I want to thank the Phillies staff, and all the money went to charity. So, and the Phillies fans, we actually sold the most cardboard cutouts in the league. So give it up for us. Thank you, Jacob. Put your hand together. Okay. So now the cool thing about these is that they are so lifelike. Wouldn't you say, Jacob? They look pretty lifelike. And
I honestly can't tell which one is you and which is the cutout.
yeah, no, thank you. That's what they're hoping for, and that's what I'm hoping for. These are so lifelike. You can imagine a stadium full of these things, you know what I mean? And they're so lifelike, Jacob, that I really got the Philadelphia experience, because I swear to you, I heard a bunch of the cardboard cutouts, you know, muttering a bunch of racist and anti-Semitic things under their breath. So very impressive how lifelike these things are, okay? Now, I have a few things I want to go over. Now, number one, when I first got to the stadium, you are not sat together. We're lucky that we were in the same section, but it's at random, okay? So the first thing I wanted to do was find my son, because I didn't like that he wasn't with me in a stadium full of racist cardboard cutouts, okay? So I turned into Harrison Ford. I walked right up to the teenager like, where's my son? You know, in the mask and everything. So I go to find my son, and straight up, Jacob, the dude had better fucking seats than me, okay? He was in the second row. I was in the 23rd row. What the fuck's that about, okay? I paid for the goddamn things. This motherfucker doesn't have a job. Now, granted, Jacob, I don't have a job right now either, okay? Okay, but that's not the point. That's not my fault. That's the government's fault, okay? That's not my fault. So, you know, I was pretty pissed about that, and I would like some retribution from the Phillies front office. I just want to put that out there in the world. Now, number two, Jacob, the other thing I set out to do when I found these cardboard cutouts was I wanted to take a series of portraits of us together, because I wanted Rocco and I to keep up our tradition of going to Citizens Bank Park every summer together, right? What a nice sentiment. What a nice thought. So the first place I thought to go was like down the stairs, and right where the field is, to take a nice picture of us with the whole field in the background. But it was very windy that day, Jacob. So picture, you know, cue the Benny Hill music, because there goes my son, you know, flapping away at the fucking wind. And I'm like running up the stairs, trying to get him, okay? And the poor fucking teenager who shows me to my seat, he's doing the social distancing. He has to stay 10 feet away. He's like, I can't help you, Mr. Gutin. It's forbidden. There goes your son. You know, it was quite a task, you know, especially in such an eerie, post-apocalyptic, Tom Cruise sci-fi looking, you know, movie stadium. My wife is joining us, not our wife, Jacob. This isn't Utah. Okay. Now, the last thing I wanted to say about these awesome cutouts, okay, because they're so lifelike, Jacob, and because I've mentioned a billion times that I am a Jew, I am always looking for ways to repurpose things or recycle them. You know, I want to get the most value out of things. I want to get the most bang for my buck. And the thing that I like about these, you're getting the full carrot top tonight, Jacob and Dara, okay, is that they're so lifelike. Is I've been finding ways to repurpose this. So the first thing that I thought to do is to weekend at Bernie's myself with these cardboard cutouts, okay? Because we live a very virtual life now as parents. I was telling you about homeschooling before the show, Jacob. So now, back to school night, virtual back to school night, boom. There's Mr. Gutin. So attentive, right? While I smoke a bowl in the other room, so attentive. So interested in what the children will be doing, okay? Parent-teacher conference. Oh, look, there's my wife. She's in one square. There I am in another. I go by, you know, once in a while. I nod. Mm-hmm. I do the 227. Mm-hmm. You know, I do the black lady at the DMV. Mm-hmm. You know, and then I smoke a bowl in the other room because I'm a great parent, okay? Another way I thought to use it, okay? Another way I thought to use it was if we ever go out to dinner again, Jacob, in the new world, okay? And we go to eat dinner at a Red Robin in a parking lot, you know, like Dennis Leary and the sewer people from Demolition Man. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a pulley system get some good lighting in the window, and pull a Kevin McAllister from Home Alone, right? And scare off the robbers from Trenton and Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern while I eat, you know, food in the parking lot like I'm in fucking Mad Max Fury Road and the world has run out of air. Okay, now, here's another thing I thought I can use the cardboard cutout for. Don't worry, Jacob, there's only 2 more. Poor bastard, okay? Now, another one, if we ever go to LA again, because Jacob, I was gonna record my new album in June and finish it over the summer and then go to LA now. Okay, so fuck this pandemic, okay? I saved for this, but I did repurpose that money towards my PlayStation 5 and accessories. So always Jewing it up, like I said, repurposing, recycling. But if we ever go to LA again, Jacob, carpool lane, passenger seat, boom, solved. I will never be late to a podcast, audition, or show again. Never, ever, okay? And if I get pulled over, Jacob, no problem. I'm an actor. I went to school for musical theater. You could tell by my jazz hand, emotes and stuff. I have a total emotional backstory already planned. The officer pulls me over, and I just go, "I'm so sorry, officer. It's just, this is a cardboard cutout of my dead identical twin brother, Charles. This is how we stay close to each other. Isn't that right, Charles?" And as you can see, officer, he was very patriotic. So patriotic. So, problem solved. Now, the only problem with this, Jacob, is I've been coming up with these solutions and I'm a bad influence on my son. So now he has been Ferris Buellering himself during virtual class, and here's Rocco, during social studies, he's present while, he's taking a giant shit, playing his Nintendo Switch elsewhere, and the point is I'm a great parent and a good influence. So give it up for me, going the full Carrot Top with my lifelike cardboard cutouts tonight for QUARAN-BITS here on Season 2, Episode 3 of Philly Comedy Club Presents the RUS GUTIN Experience here on Zoom and YouTube. Thank you for joining us. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much, Jacob and my wife, for joining us here on Season 2, Episode 3 of Philly Comedy Club Presents the RUS GUTIN Experience here on Zoom. And this week, it's another edition of my favorite segment, Album of the Week, where I tell you about the greatest comedy albums available to you now on the interwebs, on iTunes, and such. And this week is no exception. I've been lucky enough to work with this dude a bunch of places, New York, Philly, and mostly Atlantic City, and he is absolutely amazing. You have seen him on MTV's Wild 'N Out, but most importantly, you have seen him on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, who happens to be one of my heroes. And tonight we are playing a clip from his amazing album, Unemotional Roller Coaster, one of the best titles of an album you will ever hear. And then he'll be joining us for an interview. Please enjoy a clip from Unemotional Roller Coaster by my buddy, Mr. Jacob Williams, ladies and gentlemen.
I have a couple of roommates. I have multiple roommates because things are going really well for me right now. And one of my roommates, he's really into board games, and he was explaining this board game called Seven Wonders to me. It took him like 20 minutes to explain it, and I still don't know what the Seven Wonders are, but I'm no longer wondering why he doesn't have a girlfriend. So he gets mad at me a lot. I came home and the TV was on, and I sat down and started watching it. And my roommate came running out of his room. He's like, "You can't sit there because I'm sitting there." I was like, "I didn't know you were sitting here," because the room was empty. That kind of threw me off. And he's like, "I was just sitting there." I'm like, "I was just standing where you're standing. And I went to Target earlier, so you can't go there anymore." But he gets mad at me about a lot of stuff. He'll be like, "Why is it wet on the sink in the bathroom?" I'm like, "Probably because it's next to the faucet." I don't know what to do about that. I guess next time I wash my hands, I won't use water. But the walls in our apartment are thin. I can hear if my roommates are fooling around with someone, and they can hear if I'm watching the movie She's Out of Your League on DVD by myself. So My other roommate, he's this British guy that used to be a model. He came to one of my shows. He's like, Jacob, you have so many good jokes about not getting laid. I was like, yeah, I'd rather just have sex. He's like, you should go to Thailand. If you can't get laid there's something wrong with you. I was like, actually, that's what I'm worried about. So, he gives me a lot of dating advice. He'll be like, all you have to do is smile. I'm like, no, that's all you have to do. When I smile, it's really creepy. I'm just like, hey guys. And then everyone's like, all right, this guy looks like a serial killer. We have to get out of here. I'm not really a serial killer. That's a joke. I just want to let you guys know. I don't think I'd be good at it. That's not the only reason, but... It is tough for me to get someone back to my apartment, let alone murder her. It'd be a lot of new skills to learn. Someone recently got offended by that joke. I don't want to offend like if there's any serial killers here or anything. I'm sorry. But I'm trying to get better at talking to women. I used to be like, hello, my name's Jacob. And now I'm like, hello, my name's Jacob. Where are you going? But one time I did that joke, and after the show, this lady's like, oh, that was funny. I'm like, do you want my number? She's like, actually, could I have your roommate's number? It's not what I was going for. Sometimes if I ask someone out, I feel like her response sounds like she's saying the name of a card game. She'll be like, ooh, no. All right. Anyway.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show one of my favorite comics to work with in the entire world, as seen on MTV and Late Show with Colbert, Mr. Jacob Williams, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much.
I know, what a rousing, I know. Please, please, everyone, take your seats. Thank you.
That was the biggest response I've ever gotten.
Thank you. Well, you're welcome. They call me RUS What a Fucking Shill Gutin. So thank you. That was it's my Hebrew name. So, so Jacob, really, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining us on the shows. And you have a brand new album out called Unemotional Roller Coaster.
Yes.
Which I would say, yes, there it is. And I love that. The Jew loves that. I love a good plug. I love a good banner in the background. It's all about product placement. And
I gotta get the word out to everyone in this audience.
Yeah. It's one of the top 5 like comedy album titles I've ever heard, because as you can see from that clip, it's just the most perfect title in the world. So, Jacob, what I want to ask you first is what I always ask comedians here on Album of the Week. It's something I'm always interested in, is as far as the material is concerned on the album, what would you say is the oldest bit and what is the newest bit on the album? Because I like the audience at home to know how long we cook these things for. Sometimes it's a, slow roast. Sometimes it's a quick fire. So I like to get a little insight into that.
Sure. Yeah. That's a good question. Thank you. I'm glad you like the title, Unemotional Roller Coaster. I was going to name it after another joke I have, and I was going to call it Party of One, but then I realized that I found out Elaine Boozler actually has a comedy album with that title.
Oh, does she? Okay.
Yeah, and people get me and her mixed up
all the time. Honestly, it's I don't know where Elaine Boozler ends and Jacob Williams begins. It's hard to discern. Thank you.
So yeah, in terms of like the oldest and newest material, I don't know. I have some jokes on there that are pretty old. Like some of the first jokes I did were about like being an only child, which is on there, wanting to be a magician. I have a joke about like
I love that.
Velcro shoes, I think, that I wrote as a pretty early on into college when I was starting out.
Okay.
I would, like hang out with friends, and I kind of improvised a joke about Velcro shoes that I ended up using in my stand-up for years, including on the album. So
that's incredible. Isn't that incredible? You can use something for years. Keep going. I love that. Oh,
sure. Yeah, no. And then, in terms of the newest stuff, I don't know. There are actually a couple of jokes I cut out that I added on like as a bonus feature on Patreon, but I think some of the other newest stuff was like maybe some of the stuff about other stuff about new angles on like things from high school or tough shows I'd had and things like that. So yeah, it was just kind of a
Wow.
mix.
So anything? How long have you been doing stand-up for?
It's a little over 13 years now.
Wow. So some jokes could be like 12 years old, and some jokes are 4 years old. You would say so.
Yeah, totally. And so, yeah, now I'm kind of like trying to work on the next album and stuff. But for this one, yeah, I tried to just do my favorite jokes, whether it was something from early on or more recent, but I tried to just connect them on topic, I guess.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't think people understand. Like, you know, we're trying to put just the best stuff we can on wax, and you know, we've got to do these things 20,000 times to get them right. You know, like where do I pause? Where do I breathe? So it's amazing, and your material is amazing, and that's what I wanted to get to next. What I love about watching you work, Jacob, and what I love about your style, of course, it's obviously different than mine, but is that like when you and I have worked together, we've worked together in New York and Philly and things like that, but when we work together in AC, what I really love about your style is that it sort of flies under the radar because your whole presence and demeanor is so chill and so friendly. But when you actually listen to the material, you are getting away with so much shit up there. Like you are just getting away with so much. It's actually very edgy and very, you know, it's very suggestive and it's awesome. And it's a very rope-a-dope style that I just love as a showrunner from the back of the room. I just love to watch it develop. And you're such a wordsmith too. So they don't notice that you're just building jokes on top of the tags and the joke. It's just so great. It's so cool. So my question for you, speaking of your history, is that something that you always had, or is that something that you sort of developed over time?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's very nice to say. And
I mean,
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And yeah, it's something I definitely worked on over time. I mean, like starting out, I was really bad at comedy, and I there were so many
I
times
would never admit that. I'm like, you know what? I was good from the minute I started.
yeah.
Oh, man.
No, it was really starting out. Like I was so bad at hosting. Then when I started featuring, I was like terrible at that. My first, like the first time I featured somewhere as a one-nighter, it was like in this weird little restaurant with like 2 people in the audience that I think were just there to eat at the restaurant, and I was like bombing. And
oh yeah,
at the end of the night, the restaurant
accosting
owner,
them.
yeah, I was like this. They don't want to see comedy, but I did my best, and I was
the
but
worst. Yeah,
yeah, the worst part
should
was
always be intended to be seen.
exactly. But then I don't think the owner of the restaurant understood the context of like why the show wasn't set up for so like not only did he want to not pay me, but he was actually trying to convince me to like never do comedy again. He's
Oh,
like,
whoa.
like, I was in his office for like an hour, and I was like, look, like I know you didn't really like my comedy, but that's kind of like the deal is to pay me the amount we agreed. And he's like, look, he's like, there's so many other things you can do, like just do comedy, whatever. I'm like,
have you thought about mechanics or building gaming PCs? You know, anything.
yeah, he was listing so many, and then at one point he's like, look, like you're a good-looking guy. There's so many, and I was like, wow, that's nice. That's the only person that's told me that. But
yeah, what's the opposite of an inspirational speech in a movie? It was.
Yeah, I don't know, but that was definitely it. It was brutal.
Wow.
But it was a lot of trial and error, just doing tough gigs like that over and over, and getting more used to handling whatever. And yeah, now I'm super happy with how the album came out, and I appreciate everything you said about it. And
it's just amazing. You're just really good. You seem really, as much as the material suggests you're uncomfortable in your skin, as a comic, I see somebody who is very comfortable, you know, as I always say, playing their shit, you know, I think of us as musicians almost. So you're just very comfortable, you know, doing your thing. I've seen you win over so many aggressive Atlantic City crowds with your chill demeanor. You know me, I'm a steamroll those motherfuckers because I know what I'm dealing with, but to see you do it is just absolutely a treat, and I'm always enamored. And what I wanted to ask you about, speaking of your album, another thing I love about your material is I think what also flies under the radar is that it's actually kind of revealing. And you talk about going to therapy very openly, but you do mine it for comedy gold. You had that awesome animated clip that people can see on, I believe, your stories and stuff like that on your social media that I really loved. And so my question to you is also about, like, was that, material-wise, were you always that open on stage, or is that something you became more comfortable with as you became more comfortable as a comedian?
Oh, thanks again. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I do try to be myself on stage and try to be honest and vulnerable. Sometimes people will like think that I'm doing a weird character, and then they talk to me off the stage, and they're like, "Oh, you're still in character." Just how I talk to them. I try to be myself.
Wow, I didn't think about, for me, the times that I have brought up therapy in my act or things of that nature, what I notice is after the show, people then want to share their therapy experiences and information with me, and it's like, no, I'm not qualified for that. Now, Jacob, my wife has a master's in clinical psychology.
Oh, awesome.
Which explains A, why she's willing to, deal with this. But B, like, you have to have a very specific temperament, because I can't even take on somebody's personal information. Like, I'm like an emotional lightning rod. Like, you're an unemotional roller coaster. Like, I feel everything. So I was like, I can't bring this up anymore because people want to share it with me too much. I love that they think you're playing a character.
Yeah, I don't know if that people still think, but yeah, that's just how it was. And so, and starting out, like you said, I definitely didn't have that for a long time because I think I was kind of nervous about talking about some things on stage. Like, I would do a lot of shows starting out where I'd go to my hometown and it'd be like my parents and then my grandparents would all be in the audience, things like that. So I didn't really talk about sex for a long time or things like that until later.
Okay. Where are you originally from? I don't know if I've ever asked you that. I've heard it in your material, but
in Louisville, Kentucky, originally.
Oh, Kentucky! That's great, Dara. Laura Bell country. That's great. So I'm a big fan of. I have a lot of friends from school and in life and in the arts who are from Kentucky. So don't let Mitch McConnell dictate your opinion about Kentucky.
There's a lot of good people there.
No, there are. That's what I'm saying. A lot of great like musicians and actors and now comedians. I don't know if I realized. I knew you weren't from New Jersey. I knew you weren't from where I'm from. Like, that's always pretty obvious. So, okay. So actually, Jacob, speaking of being comedians together and working together, I have been in lockdown, but you are one of those lucky comedians, in my opinion, to be experiencing this in real time on the ground. And you've been one of those comics who have been doing comedy by any means necessary, so to speak. You've done virtual shows and outdoor shows, and you were already on the college circuit, so I know you were doing some of those virtual shows and things like that too, because you are just, you're just like a great, you're just a great presence on any show. But my question for you, as somebody who's been doing it for 21 years but hasn't experienced this new world of comedy, it's a two-part question. What would you say has been your best outdoor or virtual experience, and what has been your worst outdoor or virtual experience so far in the new world?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. And I'd say the best experience I've had, I'd have to probably go with, actually, when I did the album release show, I did it at New York Comedy Club.
The Penthouse.
Location. Yeah, which was so fun. And it was a super fun show already, but then what happened that night was it was a couple of days before Chris Rock was hosting SNL, so he dropped in.
Oh wow! Yeah, no, I saw. I mean, it was definitely. Yeah. Oh.
So that was really exciting. I had never seen him live. He was there with Michael Che, and he was working on his SNL monologue. And I've always been a huge fan of Chris Rock. So just to get to watch him work on the set and like try out something, not necessarily.
Jacob, what a blessing, though. What a gift that even if it's a socially distanced small audience, like someone like that. When I mean, I don't think you can like comedy or breathing air and not like Chris Rock. That is, I mean, when I lived in LA, it was cool sometimes to see Chris Rock at the Laugh Factory and Kevin Hart work those things out. But wow, I mean, that was, I don't know, that was like more like what happened to you in this time in a penthouse. That's unbelievable. I just can't believe it.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then I was definitely worried about having to follow him, but I think the crowd was in such a good mood.
You hadn't already gone on? I figured he showed up after you.
No, it was actually right before I went on to do the headline my album release show. And so I went on right after, and the crowd was so happy that I think was of seeing him that they were just in such a good mood. I ended up having
you could have taken a shit, you know, like you could have defecated on stage. You were what audience wouldn't like Chris Rock as the opener? What the fuck? And it didn't cost you a dime, Jacob. You didn't have to pay Chris Rock. So
no, I paid the other openers, and I couldn't find Chris Rock's memo, so I'm like, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna try to get that information for you, stat, and I'm sure I will be told a solid and hard no, and they will probably block my number. No, Jacob, that is really fucking cool, and that is such a blessing. Also for your album. So I just think that is really cool. And I love that you have all that extra stuff. Just by the way, if you get the album and the Patreon and all that stuff, is it Patreon or Patreon? I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, I think on Patreon, there's like I'm doing like a $5 a month thing where you can get the full video version of the album, like a comedy special version, and then material I cut out and other bonus videos.
Yeah, so make sure you get that, because I know that your album release party, I heard about the Chris Rock thing after. Thank you for giving me that gift. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I heard about that after, but I knew that you were doing all that extra stuff. So again, make sure you follow Mr. Jacob Williams on all of his social media. So Jacob, we're down to the last question of the night, and thank you so much for joining us on season.
I didn't even talk about the worst show.
Oh no! Oh shit! Hold on, ready? So yeah. So Jacob, what has been the worst experience you've had?
Oh man, so yeah, like sometimes I'll do a park show or something, and like I think it's going well, and then I realize the laughter I heard is just like people having fun on a picnic or something like that. But in general, I've done a few of these like Zoom shows where like everyone's muted. I'm just saying jokes with no response. It's kind of like the first 2 years I did comedy.
Yeah. Or this. Yeah. No, I understand. We usually have. Hey, we've had upwards of 5 people in the gallery, so I'll have you know.
I think so.
Yeah. You know, every week's a crapshoot. But
like the worst show I did online, at the end of my set, I was like, this was so weird because you guys were muted. This guy's like, actually, we weren't muted.
Oh.
No, there was one other really weird one. I was.
Why are some people so mean to you, Jacob? You're so nice. Why is everybody so mean to you?
This is the worst one because this person I really don't think was trying to be mean, but I was doing a show. I think someone accidentally unmuted, and I just heard them, like I was telling jokes to the people, the rest of the audience was listening, and this guy was like watching. I guess his video was off. His friend's like, "What are you watching?" He's like, "Oh, it's the corny white guy from Wild and Out." And his friend's like, "Oh, is it funny?" He's like, "It's kind of funny, I guess." And I had to be like, "Hey, the corny white guy from Wild and Out can hear you right now." So,
yeah, right now.
It was so weird. Yeah, I felt like I was like hearing like a YouTube comment live or something.
Oh.
I'm standing right here, assholes. Oh, Jacob, that's very, very good, and thank you for keeping me on track. Also, you know, because I didn't know.
That's why I got this.
Yeah, that's right. That's why you get paid the big bucks. That's right. Hey, you're getting paid the big bucks tonight. That's right. It's a big money gig here on Zoom for me and my wife. So,
I'm getting paid $20,000 for this. I hope.
That's right. No. Yeah, I Venmoed you what I did was I Venmo'd you the first payment of $5, and it'll be every 6 months for the next 78 and a half years. I'm not good at math, Jacob.
Sounds
So,
good.
so, yeah, I think it'll still fall short. It feels like a shortfall. So Jacob, my last question for you tonight, and thank you so much for joining us on season 2, episode 3 of Philly Comedy Club presents the RUS GUTIN Experience here on Zoom. And I'm really excited to ask you about this. Is that not too long ago in the old world, in the before times, you were featured for a late night stand-up set on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, who happens to be one of my personal heroes in life. I have I Am America and So Can You right there on my bookshelf. He is he is bigger than life to me. And it was so cool knowing you the little bit that I did, to see you on there and to see you just absolutely crush it. You know, like you were just so great and really made for The Late Show. Like you really carried the torch of the kind of comics that I grew up seeing on Letterman and now seeing on Colbert. You were just perfectly placed amongst that pantheon of comics that I have grown up seeing on that show. And I mean that a lot. So I'm very interested to ask you these questions, which is, I want you to take me a little bit behind the curtain and tell me a little bit what the process was like to book the gig, but also tell me a little bit what the day of the taping and the show was like. For example, if you made eye contact with Mr. Colbert, did he have security tase you within an inch of your life? These are the things I want to know. Spill the tea, Jacob. Spill that tea.
Well, I just spilled the tea out of this.
Yes, no. You're stunting on me now. Is that a flex? Is that a flex?
I don't know. Yeah. No, it was, thank you for asking that. It was such a great experience. I mean, I think in terms of when it first came about, I think it first kind of started like way before that, maybe a year or more or so before. I was actually like in a comedy club. I went to see, I had opened up for Louis Anderson. I did like a comedy class he did once, and then ended up opening for him a few times.
So I went to like at the Comedy Store. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's a great guy. He's amazing on the show Baskets. If people haven't seen it, I think
absolutely. I used to go on right after the Louis Anderson comedy class show in the original one.
Okay, great. Yeah, so he's awesome, a legendary comedian. But yeah, I went to like say hi to him because he was doing Caroline's, and he's like, "Oh, do you want to do a set?" And I was like, "Sure." And basically, I think Emma Willman was on the show, and she like introduced me to a friend that was with her.
Oh, okay, yeah, Emma. Okay, great, yeah.
And yeah, I just did a guest set. I think it went well. And then afterwards, her friend was like, "Hey, by the way, I like booked Colbert, so here's my card. You should send me a tape." And I was like, "Wow, that's awesome." So I think I ended up sending a tape, and it was like kind of a long process, but eventually,
wow.
After I'd kind of in my head given up, I was like, "Oh, maybe they just weren't." At one point, they were like, "Oh, we actually really like." I think they just had a long processing thing or whatever. They were like, "We really like the tape, so we'd like to have you on." And it was pretty similar to what I turned in. And so,
wow, but almost a year before, and it took a series of happy accidents, you know, that,
yeah.
You know, luck is when opportunity meets preparation, as Robert Evans always said. So I love that. I love that story. And Emma was great on her set on that show too.
Yeah, so funny. And so I think what I did is she was actually doing warm up and stuff, and she like really made the crowd awesome. And when I did it, I think, yeah, it was so cool to be, like you mentioned, like I grew up watching all those people on Letterman and stuff. So it was cool to be in that theater for sure. And
is it really 32 degrees in there? Like I know Letterman used to keep it very cold in there.
I think it might have been, I was like so nervous, I probably couldn't tell what the actual temperature was. But yeah. It was a really, really fun experience for sure. Yeah.
No, that is excellent. And I really, really appreciate you giving me a little bit of insight into that, because I know some people have gone through it where it's like it happened and 2 weeks later somebody canceled, so they were up, you know, and their mom had to like drive in and take them to the store and get them a suit, So the fact that you went through such a long process just speaks again, in my opinion, to one of the reasons that I just love you as a comic on stage, but really, really enjoy working with you. You are dedicated to the craft, you work hard, and you don't fucking give up. And that's what I love about that. I mean, I don't know if I could have gone through a year process like that. Like, and the fact that you were like, oh, maybe they, I just love that story. And I think that it's a real gift that you gave us all these great stories tonight with so many great guest stars, Jacob. Who knew there were going to be Chris Rock and Stephen Colbert and Louis Anderson and Elaine Boozler? I mean, my God, a cavalcade of fucking stars. I can't wait to do the YouTube tags for this. They're going to be really surprised to see it here, too. But, Jacob, I can't thank you enough for joining us on Season 2, Episode 3 of Philly Comedy Club Presents the RUS GUTIN Experience here on Zoom. And you at home can now get Jacob's album, Unemotional Roller Coaster, which is put out by 800 Pound Gorilla Records, which has all kinds of amazing comedy records on their label right now. But Jacob's album, Unemotional Roller Coaster, is available now on iTunes. And definitely sign up to his Patreon, or however you want to say it, and you get the full special and all that extra content that Jacob is so gracious to put out in the world. My friend, I hope in the new world, you and I get to kick ass in Atlantic City and Philly and New York again. Absolutely. Once more. Thank you for joining us, Jacob. I really appreciate it.
This was so much fun. Thanks for having me. It's always great talking to you, great working with you. So thanks for having me.
You're the man, Jacob. Thank you again. Give it up for Jacob Williams, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for a little mini segment before we end the show here tonight. And this is a new segment I like to call Binge Russin', and we're doing that here on Season 2, Episode 3 of Philly Comedy Club Presents the RUS GUTIN Experience here on Zoom. And Binge Russin' is where I'm going to recommend to you what I have been binge watching while I'm here in the lockdown. But everybody knows this about me. If you know me, I am always binge watching everything my whole life. So the world is really just catching up to me, my friends. But lots of people have been texting me and messaging me, Russell, I have already watched all of Netflix and all of HBO Max and whatever. What do I watch? So I'm always on point to recommend things to people, and we're going to continue this as a segment. It's also going to involve video games and other things. But what I want to recommend to you guys right now, but this is a tricky recommendation, okay? Because I've recommended it to people, but it has come back to bite me, okay? But on Amazon Prime, there is a show called The Boys, which is based on an amazing graphic novel of which I am a huge fan, and was so amped that Seth Rogen and them had optioned it and we're going to make it into a TV show, because it is not even appropriate for grown-ups. Like, there is no age level of which the comic book and or the show is appropriate. And it's one of those things where I want to recommend The Boys, especially season 1, but now especially I just binged season 2, Jacob, in about 2 days. I watched it basically right in a row. I don't recommend that either. I don't think that that is going to scar you any less if you watch it. But here's what I want to tell you. If you like blood, guts, glory, vengeance, justice, if you like the most irreverent, sick fucking humor you've ever seen in your life on a Marvel MCU scale level budget and effects and CGI, but in the most inappropriate, gruesome, but also emotional, challenging. I mean, Dara heard me the other night sobbing during the season finale of season 2. It's very difficult.
Common sound.
But also, if you like brain splattered everywhere, and Billy Joel, and perhaps the occasional mutant boa constrictor-sized cock that almost chokes somebody to death, or someone dressed seemingly like Superman who is a hero but is also the biggest piece of shit you've ever seen in your life, completely jacking it while standing on a gargoyle statue looking over a cityscape like Batman or Spider-Man, but just jacking it all the way. And also, if you like the show Banshee on Cinemax, you have come to the right place. And also, if you love the word "see you next Tuesday," if you love the word "cunt," as I like Carl Urban, and you like him calling everybody a fucking cunt. All right, you cunts. All right, you cunts. I'd like a Big Mac and $1 menu for Vegeta. You cunts. You know, like, what the fuck? Like, if you like Carl Urban and the word cunt, this is the show for you. But listen, at home, now I don't want any messages blaming me for the things you cannot unsee in The Boys season 1 and 2. But I will tell you this, I do think that you'll be better for watching it, and I don't think that you will laugh louder or cry harder at a show than The Boys season 1 and 2. So that is binge russin' for season 2, episode 3 of Philly Comedy Club presents the RUS GUTIN Experience here on Zoom, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we usually end the show with an ARA, Ask Russ Anything, or an APA, Ask Papa Anything, since my wife, I know, went out to a belated birthday dinner in a parking lot, like I said earlier, like we're Dennis Leary and the sewer people from Demolition Man. I know that she has probably had a martini and perhaps a glass of wine. So we're going to open up the floor. Usually we have a theme, Jacob, but I'm just going to do an Ask Russ Anything. But since my wife is here, we're gonna let it roll. We're rolling the dice.
Oh God. Ask Russ anything. Oh no.
We should do an AJA.
I was about to say, can I ask Jacob anything?
Yeah, ask Jacob anything. Fuck you, Jacob. I didn't listen. You're not getting paid extra for the AJA. And I don't mean to be. See, I was mean to you. There's something about it. It just made me.
Stop it! Don't be mean to him.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna find that restaurant.
And I am sorry that I don't have a face, but I'm in my pajamas now, and it's not happening. Okay, I just want to know. What once things go back to normal, what are you most excited about when things go back to normal? It can be comedy, it can be life. Just what do you miss the most? What are you looking forward to once we can all be normal again?
Oh, that's a good question. What do I look forward to? Probably they'll be able to film The Boys season 3, so that's exciting.
Yeah. They're supposed to start shooting in January, so.
Oh, great. So that'll be cool. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'll be nice to like just see friends in a normal way again and be able to do comedy like indoors. I'm never gonna take that for granted again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well. Oh wow. Yeah. Take that for granted, Jacob. I appreciate you saying that because I've just noticed that I think comics will appreciate. I think that comics were very quick to complain in the old world, like if things weren't absolutely pitch perfect. You know, like to me, it was always like, okay, how can I make this work? Like, I always am like, how can I make this work? But yeah, I really appreciate you saying that because I do think that it's something that I think comics will appreciate more.
Yeah, absolutely. I did one show indoors during quarantine. Like in August, I did this show that was like distanced at a college where everyone had masks and we're spread out. And it was like so much fun because it was like, wow, this feels like real comedy, and they were able to still do it in a safe way. So yeah, so I hope they'll like be able to open up and do it in a responsible way like that and things like that. But yeah, I miss
just being normal though. I like that you said just seeing my friends and you know, or going to a comedy show and being like, let's all, you know, go get something to eat after. I don't know, like it just things that were so normal to us and we're so part of what we do. Like, you know, like going out to dinner. When I was younger, before I had kids, like going out to eat after the show was to me sometimes more exciting
Yeah.
than or I got more stories out of that to tell Dara the next day than I did necessarily at the show. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that too, Jacob. And speaking of which, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. And I really mean it when I say that I really can't wait for us to be in that ghost hotel or wherever we end up performing again.
Absolutely.
Because that's the thing, like you and I made that work. The Claridge was it's not an ideal location. It's in the middle of a hallway, you know, or whatever. But I've seen you destroy that room. So to me, if you're funny, you can make it work. So
Thank you. Yeah, I hope we get to play there again and all over. And
anywhere. A fucking Elks Lodge, or a Union Hall, or a fundraiser for the Sisters of Mary. Who's the fuck? I don't care.
Is that their real title?
But Jacob, thank you again for joining us, and everybody for joining us on season 2, episode 3 of Philly Comedy Club presents the RUS GUTIN Experience here on Zoom. And now, just so you know, you can also catch all of the episodes from season 1 and season 2 on my YouTube channel, and we're already cooking up season 3 now. Please join us next week, where our guests will be none other than the co-hosts of one of the biggest podcasts in the world, Couples Therapy Podcast, Naomi Ekperigin, who I think is one of the greatest living comedians of all time, and her Jew-boo husband, Andy Beckerman. And they are going to join me. They are old friends of mine, and it's going to be absolutely unmissable and unmistakable how much fun we're going to have next week. So don't miss it, and be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel to catch all the episodes of the RUS GUTIN Experience. Thank you so much for joining us on season 2 of the RUS GUTIN Experience. Thank you so much. Jacob, man, you're the man, dude. Thank you
So much. This was so fun. Yeah, thanks for having me. This was great.
I really appreciate it, and I know